this next story, speaking of legislation, leads into that perfectly. And I made the little quip. This is not my own. I saw somebody say this on the net. ISP may soon stand for invading subscriber privacy. Last Thursday, the U.S. Senate voted to eliminate broadband rules that were imposed under the Obama administration in October of 2016. The U.S. Senate voted to eliminate broadband privacy rules that required ISPs to obtain consumers' explicit consent before selling or sharing web browsing data and other private information with advertisers or other companies. Those original rules, as I mentioned, were approved in October 2016 by the FCC's, our U.S. Federal Communications Commission leadership, which was at the time in the hands of the Democratic political party here in the U.S. But those rules are opposed by the FCC's new Republican majority and the Republicans in Congress. So using its power under the Congressional Review Act to ensure that the FCC rulemaking, quote, shall have no force or effect, and to prevent the FCC from issuing similar regulations in the future, the vote was 50-48, split straight down party lines. But because the Republicans are currently the majority in the Senate, that's the way it went. Of course, we also have a Republican majority in the House, and the way legislation works, both of those congressional bodies need to vote on legislation. Then, if there's any difference between the legislation, that gets worked out, and then finally the president signs it into law, all of which is expected to happen. So, the only silver lining here is that all an ISP can see of encrypted communications, almost all of which is now the case, thanks to Let's Encrypt, thanks to the NSA Snowden revelations a few years ago, which hugely increased the rate at which we moved into TLS connections and HTTPS. The only thing the ISP can see is our DNS queries. If we're using their DNS servers, well, then they know exactly what domains we are looking up. If we're using somebody else's DNS servers, but we're not encrypting the DNS using DNS crypt, for example, then they're able to see the DNS traffic moving through them on its way to us. So that's sort of metadata, in as much as they're not seeing what we are sending and receiving, but they do know to whom we are sending and receiving it. And if we're not using a VPN, they're also seeing the IPs to which our traffic, the public IPs to which our traffic is going and coming from. So if they look the IP up, they can see what website we're visiting. So again, it's not clear what they want to do. In the same way that I fear we're going to see legislation in the future that could compel encrypting companies to provide to be able to respond to warrants, I greatly fear the day when part of subscribing to an ISP like Comcast or Cox or any of the others will require us to accept their root certificate, which would then enable them to run a TLS decrypting middle box, as we've called them, to decrypt our traffic on the fly, specifically for the purpose of then getting into it. And then that requires us to trust them and all of their employees and the behavior over time of their organizations. And that's horrifying, because our ISP is a single point of failure for all of our traffic and all of their customers' traffic. The advantage we have now is where we're talking to all these different websites. If a given website loses control of its certificate, then it's only that one site whose traffic is potentially exposed. But if an ISP does this, it's a nightmare. So, but again, this really does look like the way things are going, which is not good news.